The first round of the 2025 US Open wrapped up, and before we talk about some of the matches that happened on day 3, let's quickly discuss the Alcaraz haircut. And I thought that this was a statement by Alcaraz. He looks like a warrior out there. He completely shaved his head. But it turns out that the story is quite different. Here's what Carlos said. I felt like my hair was really long already. And before the tournament, I said that I really want to get a haircut. Suddenly, my brother just misunderstood the machine. He cut it, and the only way to fix it is just to shave it off. To be honest, it's not that good. It's not that bad, I guess. How can you not love Alcaraz? He's so down to earth. But I do think this accidental shaving of the head does make him look even more like a menace out there. But we're going to discuss Carlos Alcaraz on another day. Let's start with a couple of matches on the women's draw that happened on day 3. And Laura Siegemund surprised me. I picked her to lose in the first round to Shnaider, who just won the Monterey title. A very talented player, ranked number 22 in the world, but in my opinion, she can go even higher. A very dangerous lefty. But what's so fascinating about Siegemund is that her style drives opponents crazy, and she's able to take out players that are ranked much higher than her. And there are quite a few quirky players on the WTA Tour. Siegemund is one, Tatiana Maria is another one, and also Ito from Japan is another player who slices the forehand a lot and has a quirky game. And I find it so refreshing to see different styles on the WTA Tour. But not only that, it's the contrast of seeing somebody that plays a quirky style playing against a power hitter. And speaking of quirky styles, you can somewhat put Coco Gauff in that category as well. She is, of course, a power player, but she's also a great defender. And similar to someone like Siegemund or Maria, Coco Gauff has exceptional feel and can slice her forehand exceptionally well. Now, she's not all about finesse and defense. Coco Gauff can also bring the heat. Did you know that Coco Gauff in 2022 served 128 miles an hour? Now, Serena's fastest serve is also at 128. It was a little bit faster. It was 128.6, if I remember correctly. And then Venus was right above Serena with 129, I believe. So Coco Gauff hit the 7th fastest serve in the history of the WTA Tour. Now, of course, the fastest serve ever was hit by Sabina Lisicki at 131 miles an hour. There's actually another player that hit a serve even faster than that. Garcia Perez hit a serve at 136.7 miles an hour, but the serve doesn't officially count because it happened in qualifying at the tournament in Budapest. But the reason why I'm talking about Coco Gauff's serve speed is that in the first set of the first round match against Tomljanovic, Coco Gauff was averaging 86 miles an hour on her first serve. Now, she ended up winning that first set 6-4, and she had chances to win this match comfortably. She was up 4-2 in the second set, but then ended up losing it in a tiebreak. Gauff found herself up 4-2 in the third set and had a break point to go up a double break, but she led Tomljanovic back into this match, and she ended up taking this third set 7-5. A very hard-fought victory, and a lot of people are pointing out that the unforced errors were very high for both Tomljanovic and Coco Gauff. In Tomljanovic's case, if you watch this match, it looked like she played an excellent match and a very consistent match. She didn't make that many easy mistakes. This match featured long rallies. Now, it was very difficult for Tomljanovic to hit winners on Gauff, and one of the reasons for that is that Coco Gauff has impeccable defense, so it's not so easy to hit a winner on Coco Gauff. And naturally, as the rally goes on, you press a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and you end up making a mistake. So the unforced error count in this match, especially in the case of Tomljanovic, is a tad misleading. I thought that she played an exceptional match and gave herself a lot of chances to win this one. Now, Coco is obviously struggling. I'm very surprised because I thought that after winning Roland Garros, she's going to get a lot of confidence from that win, and she's going to continue to go deep in the most important tournaments, but she didn't. She went on a little bit of a slump. And interestingly, it was the Gauff second serve that was causing a lot of problems at the lead-up tournaments to the US Open. Coco was committing a tremendous amount of double faults. And I've made videos in the past on the troubles that Coco Gauff has on her second serve from a technical standpoint. In the past, I've talked about the Coco Gauff forehand, and that, in my opinion, is purely mental. The forehand has been working really well as of late. And I always look at the way Coco plays in doubles and regarding her forehand, where she plays more freely and doesn't hit it quite as high and short, something that she had trouble with back in the day. But as I've said, the forehand's been looking very solid as of late. Now, when it comes to the serve, it's a lot more complex. And somebody that can serve 128 miles an hour, averaging 86 mile an hour in the first set against Tomljanovic, tells you that Coco Gauff was not hitting that first serve flat. She was putting either kick or slice on her first serve and just trying to get it in. So I started doing YouTube 7 years ago, and for about 6.5 years, so very shortly after I started, the channel started doing really well. Right from the get-go, I put my focus more on my online work, but I never gave up coaching. Even though I do it way less than I used to do it before, I still work with a lot of players. I have a membership site called Intuitive Tennis Premium. You can check it out by going to intuitivetennis.com, or you can check out Intuitive Tennis on the App Store. So on this membership site, I help a lot of players. And I have a monthly Q&A. I also have a private WhatsApp group. I can tell you that one of the most frequent concerns that players have, and one of the most frequent questions, is the second serve. So a very common scenario is that players have low confidence on that second serve in matches and they just tap it in, or some try to hit it and they commit a lot of double faults, and most of the time it's due to technical problems. So a lot of my students are working on a kick serve, which is absolutely the best way to hit a second serve. I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but you can check out some of my other videos on that subject. Players often ask me, Nick, I'm working on my kick serve. My second serve is garbage in matches. What do I do? Do I use my newly learned kick serve in a match, or do I just use my old serve? And I tell every player the same thing. When you go into a match, I do not want you to double fault, because this can have a catastrophic effect on not only your serve, but the rest of your game. It can drag your game down, and now you're going to start playing horrible. You're going to hate tennis. You're going to lose to players that you haven't lost to before. And this is something that's very dangerous. So my advice is that you use the serve in matches that you know is going to go in, even if that might be a technically deficient serve, or most commonly at the lower racket levels is that tap-in serve, in other words, a slower version of a flat serve. This is what you got to do in matches, because I do want you to get that second serve in. I don't want you to double fault. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put a tremendous amount of reps learning the kick serve, getting rid of fundamental errors. And once you have the technique down, now you have to hit a tremendous amount of serves, and all these reps eventually will translate in your body remembering these movements, and this newly learned kick serve through a lot of reps will be accessible to you in a match situation. Now, how long this process lasts depends on many factors. For example, the talent level of a player, and of course it depends on how much time you have to practice. But under no circumstance do I want players to double fault. Now, what do you do if you are in a match and you are double faulting? Well, it's going to be wise to get confidence back into your serve, because a double fault affects players differently. Maria Sharapova just got introduced to the International Hall of Fame, and I regard Maria as one of the best servers of that era. And something interesting about Sharapova is the fact that she used to hit a lot of double faults. But in her case, this was an intentional decision to hit the second serve aggressively. So if you intend to hit your second serve very aggressively, and if you accept the fact that there are naturally going to be more mistakes of a second serve when you hit it more aggressively, i.e. when you hit it with a hard slice, or if you even hit it flat, of course you're not going to make 99% of those serves. You're going to make a ton of double faults. But that acceptance of this being the reality is not going to cause the rest of your game to get dragged down. Now, if you intend to put control on your second serve, you intend to hit a kick, and yet you're double faulting, this can have a horrible effect on your mental game. You're going to lose confidence not only on your second serve, but maybe even on your first serve. And a lot of times you're going to lose confidence in the rest of your game. So intending to put control on a second serve and double faulting is something that's very difficult to deal with. So what are the remedies if you are double faulting in a match? Well, one wise thing is to actually put more control on your first serve. In other words, you're going to pick a safer location in the box, and you're not going to hit it hard and flat. You're going to either kick it or slice it. And a lot of times when you start getting more first serves in, now when you miss one and you have a second serve, the confidence might be better on that second serve, and you might stop double faulting. Look, I have absolutely no idea what Coco Gauff is working on the serve. There's no info available on that, keeping it secret, and that's perfectly fine. It's quite possible that Coco was trying to just play it safe on her first serve in the first set, and that's why she averaged 86 miles an hour. But unfortunately, this didn't translate into confidence on her second serve because, in my opinion, the only reason why the double fault count was lower than some of the matches in the lead-up tournaments to the US Open is because she went so safe on that first serve. Because I'm still seeing technical deficiencies on Coco Gauff's kick serve. So I've made many videos about the fundamentals on the kick serve. I even made a video about the Coco Gauff kick serve last year that you can check out. Right now, in my opinion, Ben Shelton has the best kick serve in the world. And if you take a look at the biomechanics of a kick serve, you will see that players are more sideways on the kick serve. That's one of the reasons why the kick serve is slower than the slice or the flat, because you're getting rid of a huge power source on the serve. And when you stay sideways, you're going to get a more favorable angle of the racket face at the moment of contact, and that lateral swing path will be more intuitive. So what happens on the Coco Gauff kick serve is that she has full rotation on her kick serve. So when I made that video last year, a lot of people were saying Coco Gauff is dropping her head on the serve, and you have to understand that the head is going to move with the torso. So Coco Gauff is not necessarily dropping her head. The head, when you hit a flat serve or a slice serve, will rotate forward with the torso. And when you stay more sideways, the head is going to be positioned towards the side. So it's not going to drop as much. In other words, when you stay more sideways on the kick serve. But most importantly, and the reason why Coco Gauff struggles with the kick serve, is that the contact point when she rotates forward ends up behind her head. I'm talking about behind her head in this way. And Coco Gauff is incredibly talented, and she can get a lot of serves in that way. And when there's no pressure, she can get the kick serve in one after another. She can get tons of them in a row, as Brett Gilbert said last time. But one thing about having some technical deficiencies is that when the pressure is there, these technical deficiencies are magnified, and now you have a serve problem that's far greater in a match situation compared to a practice situation or a match when there is not that much pressure. So it's not necessarily the toss on the Coco Gauff serve that's the issue. It's more the fact that she continues to have a full torso rotation on the kicker. And I did study her serve yesterday, and that problem is still there. But as you guys probably know, Coco Gauff is working really hard on her serve, and these changes take time to implement. Now, another question that a lot of people are bringing up, is it wise to change your technique a few days before a Grand Slam tournament? And in my opinion, it's not wise. What I said before applies to the Coco Gauff situation. You are not going to be able to get enough reps into a new technique for you to trust it in a match situation. So this is something that has to be done in a training block when there's a little bit of time, at least 2 weeks, but ideally a month, where you can get a tremendous amount of reps, and then you go into the next tournament and that new technique might be accessible to you. But Coco Gauff is a champion. This was a very important win. She's given herself another chance to play better. Tennis, it's weird as it sounds, it's all about winning. When you are able to come through on your worst days, you give yourself another chance to find your best tennis. And Coco Gauff certainly is a champion, one of the best players in the world. Now, her next match against Donna Vekic on paper looks tougher, but I got a feeling that Coco is going to play better in this one, and she's going to come through. I have predicted that Osaka will take out Gauff. So let's see if that happens. Osaka did win her first match yesterday. And speaking of big servers, Aisling Krueger, one of the players that's not often talked about, has one of the best serves in the world. I call her the American Pliskova. Pliskova, one of the greatest servers of all time on the WTA Tour. And interestingly, Krueger is coached by Michael Joyce, who used to be Sharapova's coach. So Aisling is through that first round, as I expected. And she played Sofia Kenin, an Australian Open champion. So I do think that Aisling is under the radar There are not that many people that are talking about her, but she could potentially be a very dangerous player and have a breakthrough in this tournament. She had 12 aces in the match against Kenin, a huge serve and a power hitter from the baseline. Of course, she's very tall, 6'1", if I remember correctly. So, of course, the movement is not on par with some of the best movers on the WTA Tour, but nevertheless, she's a power player that can be extremely dangerous. Now on to the men's draw, and Bublik, as I predicted, takes out Cilic. A lot of people had predicted this the other way around because Cilic did really well at Wimbledon. But this brings up the question whether down the road players are going to skip the lead-up tournaments to the US Open, because I can only see the climate getting worse and the temperatures are going to get more brutal. And we have to watch two players, and it's Djokovic and Bublik. If these guys perform well at the US Open without having played a single tournament prior to the US Open, this might be a move that players will utilize in the future, because if you play those lead-up tournaments prior to the US Open and you're completely exhausting yourself, you're playing in brutal conditions, you might not have much left in the tank when it comes to the US Open. So I'm not surprised that Bublik took out Cilic, because Bublik is on absolute fire. He won back-to-back titles in Gstaad and Kitzbühel, but I am surprised how easily he took out Cilic. 6-4, 6-1, 6-4. So Bublik is going to be dangerous. I got him losing to Koboli in the third round, but that could easily go the other way, and we could see Bublik in the quarterfinals facing Sinner again, who he has beaten in Halle. So that top half could get very interesting. Now, I made a video a few days ago on Tsitsipas, and in the first round match against Muller, this is some of the best tennis that I've seen from him in a long time, possibly since the tournament in Dubai. And I had predicted that Tsitsipas will take out Muller, but I thought that he was going to lose again to Medvedev. But Altmaier took out Medvedev in a 5-set thriller. So now I do believe that Tsitsipas will take out Altmaier. So if Tsitsipas can string together some wins, his confidence will grow and maybe he can recover his form at this US Open. It's going to be interesting to see whether he can do that. And last but not least, Jannik Sinner, incredibly dominant against Kopriva, 1-1 and 2. Not many chances. It is interesting to me that Kopriva has a better backhand than forehand, and his average speed on the backhand is higher than the forehand. We don't often see that, especially on the ATP Tour, but Jannik Sinner's ground strokes are so incredibly penetrating. And what I'm seeing from him more and more is also the ability to open up angles, and his cross-court shots, both forehand and backhand, very difficult to retrieve because they're so heavy. And when you're off the court against Sinner, you can kiss the rally goodbye. And of course, we know how lethal Jannik can be when he goes down the line, where the strokes lose a little bit of RPMs, especially on the backhand side, not that much on the forehand. And he goes so hard, so long, and so strong down the line. He is so difficult to beat from the baseline. And there's only one man who has enough tools to get Sinner out of a rhythm, and that's Carlos Alcaraz. Everybody else is going to have a hard time. Now, the first serve percentage, as I discussed in one of my previous videos, is still an area for improvement for Jannik. And if he's able to improve his first serve percentage, he's going to be very difficult to beat, even by Alcaraz. But I want to talk about something interesting that Jannik said in an interview. His dream was to be number one when he was young, but his real dream was to be in the top 100. He also added that if he wasn't ranked 200 by a certain time, I don't recall exactly what age, he would have stopped because it was too expensive for him to play tennis, and he didn't want to put a burden on his family. So Jannik Sinner is just a great guy, just like Carlos Alcaraz. How can you not like both of these guys? But back to Jannik Sinner's dreams. And this is something that I've discussed a lot on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. And it goes back to another super frequent question that I get in the emails that I receive, or even in DMs on Instagram, and that's whether it is too late for me to turn pro. And this question is asked by players of various ages. And what I think is so important when players have a dream of becoming pro is to set goals that are step by step. And there's a big difference between dreams and actual goals. Jannik Sinner said dreams versus real dreams. So when he says real dreams, there is a reality component, and I think Jannik there is talking about goals. Those have to be step by step. Those are going to be your actions that you're going to take to accomplish your goal. So if your goal is to become a #1 player in the world, and it's going to take many, many, many years to get there, at some point, you're going to get frustrated, or you're going to have thoughts that you'll never reach your goal. So it makes more sense to set goals that are within your reach. And once you reach a goal, you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to be motivated to attack the next goal. And in Jannik Sinner's case, it's refreshing to hear that his actual real goal was to be in the top 100, and everything else afterwards was just a bonus. So again, guys, if you have dreams of becoming a pro tennis player, there's absolutely nothing wrong with dreams. We all have those dreams as tennis players. Maybe you're driving in your car. That's a lot of times where these dreams get activated, and you're dreaming of winning a big tournament. Nothing wrong with that. This can motivate you to go out and train. But when it comes to actual goal setting, you're going to have to put a goal in front of you that's more reachable. Maybe it's a specific stroke that you want to improve. Maybe it's the next tournament that you're playing, and then when you're in that tournament, you go one match after another. You have to go step by step, or you're going to pay the price and you're going to lose motivation and possibly quit the game of tennis. But again, there's absolutely no problems with dreaming about doing big things in the game of tennis, because again, this might motivate you to pick up a racket and hit the courts.